All right, moving on. The U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear arguments on U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff program, which could have significant implications for global trade and the economy. Now, Trump has described the case as life or death for the country. He said that if they win the case, U.S. will have tremendous but fair financial and national security. And if not, then the country will be virtually defenseless against other countries who have for years taken advantage of them.
The doctrine requires Congress to use plain and direct language to authorize sweeping economic actions by the executive branch. But until this year, no president has used the 1977 law, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, to impose tariffs. The law does not feature the words tariffs or similar terms like duties, customs, taxes or imports. Nor is there any question that the tariffs will have vast economic consequences measured in the trillions of dollars. Now, the major questions doctrine, which is a judicially created principle of statutory interpretation, it follows the premise that Congress does not hide elephants in mouse holes, as Justice Antonin Scalia put it in a 2001 opinion. But the actual words, major questions doctrine, it did not appear in a majority until 2022. When Chief Justice Roberts curtails EPA's power to address climate change. He said without clear congressional authorization, the agency could not act. Now, with the Supreme Court set to hear arguments on Wednesday, here's a look at the timeline of Trump's tariffs. The legal challenge to tariffs came in April, and that was shortly after Trump had imposed reciprocal tariffs on almost the entire world. And that happened on the 2nd of April, if you remember, dubbed Liberation Day. VOS Selections and other import companies filed a lawsuit on the 14th of April, soon after that. Learning Resources and Hand to Mind filed a case on the 22nd of April. A group of 12 US states filed a parallel lawsuit on the 23rd of April, while California had filed a separate case on the 16th of April. In the month of May, following that, the U.S. Trade Court ruled against Trump and called the tariffs imposed under the IEEPA illegal. And the Trade Court's decision was upheld by a federal appeals court later in the month of August. Now, in early June, the petitioners had failed to get an expedited relief from the Supreme Court. And in the month of September, the Supreme Court consolidated the cases and scheduled oral arguments for November 5th. Trump has insisted that if they win the case, US will become the richest, most secure country in the world. And if not, it would become almost a third world nation. He insisted that the levies have brought great wealth and national security during his 9-month tenure, noting the use of tariffs to negotiate with China and other countries. Trump will not attend Wednesday's arguments, but Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told Fox News that he would be attending to emphasize that this is an economic emergency. Bessent told Reuters that he expects the Supreme Court to uphold the IEEPA-based tariffs. But if it strikes down these tariffs, Bessent said in an interview, the administration will simply switch to other tariff authorities, including Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. Now, this Section 122 of the Trade Act, which allows broad 15% tariffs for 150 days to calm trade imbalances. So we will be tracking all those developments as the hearings start on the 5th of November.